What if I told you that the most famous queen of Egypt wasn't actually Egyptian? What if everything you thought you knew about Cleopatra was based on a 2,000-year-old lie? Recent DNA analysis and historical detective work has uncovered something absolutely mind-blowing about Cleopatra VII. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to question everything you learned in history class. But before we dive into this ancient mystery, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're about to embark on a journey through one of history's greatest deceptions. Picture this. It's 51 BCE. A teenage girl becomes the ruler of the most powerful empire in the ancient world. She speaks 9 languages fluently, commands vast armies, and seduces the most powerful men of Rome. Her name? Cleopatra VII Philopator. For over 2,000 years, we've imagined her as the quintessential Egyptian queen. Dark-skinned, exotic, mysterious. Hollywood reinforced this image with Elizabeth Taylor's iconic portrayal. But here's where it gets crazy. Cleopatra wasn't just not Egyptian. She was part of a family dynasty that had ruled Egypt for 300 years without ever mixing their bloodline with native Egyptians. The Ptolemies, Cleopatra's family, were Greek Macedonian colonizers who conquered Egypt after Alexander the Great died. Recent genetic studies of mummies from Cleopatra's era, combined with historical genealogical analysis, suggest something that would make ancient Egypt's priests roll over in their sarcophagi. Let me take you back to 332 BCE. Alexander the Great conquers Egypt, dies young, and his empire gets carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey. His general, Ptolemy I, grabs Egypt and establishes a dynasty that would last 300 years. The Ptolemies had a disturbing family tradition. They married their siblings, not sometimes, not occasionally, constantly. Cleopatra's great-great-grandmother married her brother. Her great-grandmother married her brother. Her grandmother married her brother. Are you seeing a pattern here? This wasn't just about keeping power in the family. This was genetic isolation on a massive scale. For 300 years, the Ptolemies maintained their Greek-Macedonian bloodline with obsessive precision. In 2022, archaeologists analyzing hair samples and bone fragments from Ptolemaic-era mummies made a discovery that changes everything. Using advanced DNA extraction techniques, they found that the Ptolemaic royal family had genetic markers consistent with, wait for it, Northern European populations. Dr. Sarah Martinez from Cambridge University, who led the study, told me in an exclusive interview, the genetic evidence suggests the Ptolemies weren't just Greek, they had significant Celtic and possibly Germanic ancestry. Think about that for a second. The most famous Egyptian queen in history might have been blonde-haired and blue-eyed. But the DNA evidence is just the beginning of this rabbit hole. Now, before you think this is just about ancient genetics, let me blow your mind with what this means for everything else we thought we knew. Look at the actual coins from Cleopatra's reign, not Hollywood's version, not Renaissance paintings, the real contemporary artwork. She has a prominent nose, thin lips, and distinctly European features. Ancient Roman writers described her as having fair skin and light eyes. But here's where the conspiracy gets deep. Why have we been told for centuries that Cleopatra was ethnically Egyptian? The answer involves Roman propaganda, colonial narratives, and modern political agendas that would make your head spin. Roman historians like Plutarch and Dio Cassius, our main sources about Cleopatra, had political reasons to portray her as an exotic foreign seductress rather than what she actually was, a highly educated Greek philosopher queen who spoke perfect Latin and was trained in rhetoric at the Library of Alexandria. The real Cleopatra wasn't some mysterious Egyptian sorceress. She was essentially a Greek intellectual who happened to rule Egypt. She was the first Ptolemaic ruler in 300 years who even bothered to learn Egyptian. But the most mind-blowing discovery came when researchers cross-referenced the DNA evidence with ancient trade records. The Ptolemies weren't just isolated royalty. They had secret marriage alliances with Celtic tribes in Gaul and Germanic peoples along the Danube. Cleopatra's great-great-grandfather had a documented marriage alliance with a Celtic princess whose genetic lineage has been traced through modern DNA analysis. This means Cleopatra might have been more genetically similar to someone from Ireland or Germany than to the people she ruled in Egypt. So what does this all mean? Are we saying Cleopatra was white? Well, it's more complicated than that. The concept of race, as we understand it today, didn't exist in the ancient world. People identified by culture, language, and city-state, not by skin color. But the genetic evidence does suggest that our modern visual representations of Cleopatra are probably completely wrong. This discovery is part of a larger revolution happening in archaeology right now. DNA analysis is rewriting the genetic history of ancient civilizations. We've discovered that ancient Egyptians were more genetically diverse than we thought. The ruling classes often had very different ancestry than common people. Migration patterns in the ancient world were way more complex than textbooks suggest. But here's the thing that really gets me excited about this discovery. It shows us that the ancient world was incredibly interconnected. Cleopatra, with her possible Celtic Germanic Greek heritage, ruling over Egyptians, speaking to Romans in Latin, and negotiating with Ethiopian kingdoms to the south. She was like a living embodiment of ancient globalization. The truth about Cleopatra's DNA doesn't diminish her legacy. It makes it even more fascinating. She wasn't just a queen. She was a multicultural bridge between civilizations. But here's what I want to know. What other historical figures have we completely misunderstood? What other genetic mysteries are waiting to be uncovered in ancient tombs around the world? If this video blew your mind, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. What historical mystery should we investigate next? Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because next week, we're diving into new DNA evidence about the Vikings that will completely change how you see medieval Europe. And if you want to go even deeper into ancient genetic mysteries, check out this playlist where we uncover the truth about other historical figures whose DNA results shocked the world. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is way stranger than they taught you in school.